Here's everything you need to know about those videos, exactly what happened right here in Westminster, and how the Prime Minister Boris Johnson fits in.
Boris Johnson's involved as well.
This is the moment on Monday evening when Keir Starmer was mobbed by anti-COVID vaccine protesters outside Parliament, shouting Jimmy Savile and accusing him of protecting paedophiles. So what's Jimmy Savile got to do with this? Well, the BBC presenter was a prolific paedophile, but the details of his 6 decades of abuse only became
Onomatopoeia, prolific paedophile. Yeah, that's poetic.
Widely known after his death. He was never brought to justice. Before Keir Starmer entered politics, he ran the Crown Prosecution Service and was in charge of bringing criminal prosecutions in England and Wales. That was at the same time Jimmy Savile's crimes came to light. The video of the Labour leader being mobbed came exactly...
Saying so though, yeah, just because that he's in charge of it, yeah, it doesn't mean he's running every single case. Yeah, so I'm not trying to like fucking sympathize for him, yeah, but just because he's in charge of like a whole organization, yeah, he's not like there in every single case. Yeah, but saying so though, Jimmy case would have been like a big case. Yeah, so he must have like fucking known about the case.
1 week after the Prime Minister accused Sir Keir of failing to prosecute Jimmy Savile during his time as Director of Public Prosecutions.
A former Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Speaker, he spent most of his time prosecuting journalists and failing to prosecute Jimmy Savile.
This is what Keir Starmer...
Oh, man said it in the House of Commons, you know. Boris really said it in the House of Commons. Yeah, he pulled out his dirty laundry and said, you, mate, you prosecute journalists, yeah, and fucking other people, but you failed to prosecute Jimmy Savile. Man said it in the House of Commons, you know.
A former Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Speaker, he spent most of his time prosecuting journalists and failing to prosecute Jimmy Savile.
This is what Keir Starmer said in response.
It is a ridiculous slur peddled by right-wing trolls.
Other MPs from across the Commons criticised Mr Johnson's comments.
We're better than this. We must seek to improve our standards and not and rise above.
You've got a punchable face. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. Yeah, that's the first word that came to mind. He's got a punchable face.
Where we are today.
Even some of his own cabinet ministers have distanced themselves.
With regard to their comments, in being honest, I wouldn't have said it.
And I saw a thing online today. Yeah, people were saying they know I'm to be Prime Minister. Yeah, it's basically like Game of Thrones. I'm not sure if anyone here has seen Game of Thrones, but like people, but online, yeah, someone said in a post, it's basically like Game of Thrones, where like people in their house, yeah, or in Parliament, yeah, they fight for the job as king, but there's internal beef in it.
And although the PM clarified his comments,
I totally understand that he had nothing to do personally with those decisions.
He has refused to apologise.
I was making a point about his responsibility for the organisation as a whole.
So is there any truth behind the claims?
The
fact checkers have rejected the claim Keir Starmer failed to prosecute Jimmy Savile. There is no evidence he was involved in any of the charging decisions. But
that's what I was saying, that just because he was in charge of the whole thing, he's not like involved with every single case. But it was a big case, so it must have like, if I come across his radar, because that's a very big case, but it's a high-profile case.
Sir Keir did apologise for his organisation's failure to bring the paedophile to justice. And
saying so though, in big corporations, yeah, that like if a company fails or fucks up badly, the CEO, yeah, they always resign. They always take responsibility. So technically, yeah, it was his responsibility. He did fuck up and he let Jimmy Savile go under the radar for so long, and he had no justice. Yeah, the victims in the hospital of them terminally ill patients, yeah, they had them young kids, they had no justice. But Jimmy Savile, he got away with it. He really got away with it.
The Labour leader has accused Boris Johnson of using fascist conspiracy theories to try and win political points.
Now their leader stands in the House of Commons parroting the conspiracy theories of violent fascists to try and score cheap political points.
One of the PM's own advisers has quit over these comments. Policy chief Munira Mirza said it was desperately sad that Boris Johnson had made such a scurrilous accusation. She called it an inappropriate and partisan reference to a horrendous case of child sexual abuse. But Number 10 has doubled down on the PM's remarks. They insist.
Apparently as well, yeah, I saw a video, yeah, where it says something about another Prime Minister. They don't actually live in Number 10. There's actually another like flat next door or flat that's connected. Yeah, so the Prime Minister never actually lived at Number 10 Downing Street.
That while Mr Johnson was not personally accusing Keir Starmer of failing to prosecute Savile, this was a question of leadership, and Sir Keir did lead the CPS. So what has the Prime Minister said about this new video? He has condemned the protesters' actions as absolutely disgraceful and said, "All forms of harassment of our elected representatives are completely unacceptable." But even though there is no evidence the protesters targeted the Labour leader because of the PM's comments, even the Speaker of the Commons has connected Mr Johnson's words with the actions of those protesters.
These sorts of comments only inflame opinions and generally disregard.
Not real, just a penalty, isn't it? It's called a penalty.
The House, and it is
saying sorry. I didn't really clock all the subs yet. The only sub that I clocked was the Mbappe sub, innit? That's a big statement, isn't it?
not acceptable. Our words have consequences, and we should always be mindful of that fact.
So what does this mean for the Prime Minister, who's already had a rocky
UK
weeks?
doesn't have any hot politics.
Boris Johnson was trying to move on from the Partygate row, attempting to reset his government's agenda, but this fracas...
But yeah, enough of that, man. Yeah, enough of politics.